Hello, everyone, and welcome to Storytime with Gorte. Today, I will be reading Chapter 1 of my book called The Scarlet Rose. If you remember from Monday, I asked which book I should read. Should it be The Scarlet Rose or The Dark Sisters? Well, I have decided to start with The Dark Rose. The Dark Rose. Wow, I just combined the two titles. I decided to start with The Scarlet Rose and see how it goes from there. Chapter 1 is pretty long, so please bear with me. This is like the 5th time I'm recording. So let's just get started. Grab some snacks, grab some drink, and enjoy me reading. Alright, so, Chapter 1. The sun peeked through the crevices of the dark clouds. Misty walked up the hill admiring the view. Her long, silky blonde hair danced in the autumn breeze. The vast ocean spread across the horizon, gleaming the sun's rays off it. She turned around to face the ruins of Calicor, an old, ancient high-elf city. The buildings were destroyed and tangled with vines. Those that stood grew a dark forest green moss, mixed in what seemed to be mold. The stone streets were stained with blood. Years ago, the orcs raided the city for goods and supplies, only to be driven off by the high elves and their magical spells, though a now famous orc known as Gorte stayed behind and slaughtered any elf he seen, regardless if it was woman or child. So much blood on his hands, and yet he was seen as a hero in the orc war chief's eyes, and to the orc people. Misty walked to the broken entrance. A giant axe stained with blood and a shattered wooden bow greeted her at the gates. Misty knelt down and touched the cold steel. She could feel the battle that took place through her own fingertips. Like a memory so vivid in her mind, she could hear the women screaming and the children crying. She shook the feeling from her mind. Misty wasn't here for a history lesson. She was looking for something, a plant that grows in the darkest of magical places. Misty stepped through the gates and came to a building half destroyed. Black beetles crawled on its walls, while the roaches hissed as the light consumed them and scattered into the darkness. She stopped in front of a structure that resembled a church. Its stained glass windows were shattered in front of it. The wooden double doors survived the wreckage. As Misty pushed it open, the doors crumbled to splinters. Misty entered to see benches split into two and pools of dry blood coating the tile floor. She saw an altar still intact. She made her way to it. Glancing at the pedestal, she saw schematics of the city, which she found odd to be lying about. Towards the back of the city stood a tower. Misty grinned. That has to be it, she thought. She grabbed the schematics and rushed outside to determine where the tower would have been. She headed to the back of the city, where she saw a tower half destroyed. She made her way to it, pushing the rocks and debris away from the entrance. The staircase that led up didn't go far, but she found a small lever. To her curiosity, she pulled it. Gears grinded together, opening the floor in front of her, exposing a staircase leading underground. This has to be it, Misty whispered to herself. She hurried down the steps. The further she went, the darker it became. Misty flicked her wrist, creating a spark of fire. The fire molded into a ball that sat comfortably in her palm. The stairs came to an end. What Misty found was unbelievable. Metal tables and glass vials filled the room. Bookshelves filled with old leathery tomes filled the right side of the wall. Old scrolls sat in wicker baskets. Misty stepped inside to see what she could find. She searched the shelves, finding old history books about the elves and other races of the world. She found a spell book hidden within them. The crisp pages turned with ease. Spells of moon magic and fire filled its pages along with other elemental spells. This piqued her interest, and she slipped the book into her satchel. Scanning the table, she found old alchemy formulas. Her eyes gleamed with light as a smile grew on her face. She studied the recipes and noticed that they all contained one type of elemental magic or another. Misty collected what she could and stuffed them in her satchel. Going back on track of why she was really here, she went on searching for the ghost moss. Her body felt weak of energy. She snapped the fire away, leaving herself in the dark. Grabbing a vial from her belt, she shook it before sending it down the hatch. Her body regenerated and her mana reserves were back to full. As she turned her head, she saw a faint blue glow. Her eyes lit up. Of course! How could I be so stupid? Growing on the wall was the ghost moss. It looked soft and fluffy, but also looked like grass. Misty grabbed her collecting tool from her satchel, a flat scraper to peel off the moss. As she did, she slipped it into her bag. She flicked her hand with fire and hurried out from the tower. As she felt the warmth of the sun on her skin, she heard the crackling sound of magic through the air. She glanced to see that in the center of town, a well of water was struck with lightning. Misty walked to it and noticed the water having a light blue glow. She dipped her hand inside and felt that it wasn't water at all. It was mana, a substance known commonly as magic. The galloping of a horse echoed through the city. Misty glanced in the distance to see a knight in silver armor wearing a tabard of blue and white. He had short brown hair that covered his ears and deep brown eyes. A sword hung at his side. The man dismounted and knelt down to Misty. "Ah, milady, I am glad I found you." His voice sincere. She raised a brow. "Really, Meldrin? You don't have to do the whole knight thing." "Sorry, force of habit." What are you doing here anyway? How did you find me?" Misty asked, placing her hands on her hips. "Well, we went to your home, but you were gone. You said something about ghost moss in this city. You also told me you needed a wagon to deliver supplies to Grimdall. Correct?" Misty nodded. "Yes, that is correct. Grimdall needs potions. I'm just surprised you're here." "I just wanted to make sure you're all right. Lazarus is here too. He's back at your house." "Your brother tagged along today?" Meldrin nodded. "Well, let's go then," Misty said while walking to his horse. Meldrin mounted, giving Misty a hand to climb on the back. He whipped the reins and galloped away. They went down the hill path and followed it into a forest. As the road disappeared, they followed the trees to find a small house in the middle of the forest. They dismounted and walked inside. Sitting at the table in a white and brown robe was Lazarus. He had short brown hair like his brother and light brown eyes. He glanced at Misty and smiled. "You're back," Lazarus shouted. "Hey, kiddo," Misty replied, rubbing his hair. "Are you going to cook today? I'm hungry," he whined. Misty rubbed her chin. That does sound like a good idea." A knock interrupted their conversation. Who could that be? Misty stood and headed to the door. As she opened it, she saw no one, but a letter in a white envelope sat on the ground. It was addressed to her mother, Makora, a member of the Grand Council. She closed the door and sat back at the table. Curious as she was, she opened it. Makora, we have information about the weapon you were curiously looking for. It appears that the spear of Vesthir is being held in a temple to the south near the border's edge. It would seem that the orcs have control over the temple and have it guarded with the most elite force possible. I will need your mages to break in if you want that weapon for your summoning. What is it? Meldrin asked. A letter from my mother. Well, it looks like there's a change of plans. I need to deliver this letter to my mom. It is Grand Council priority. Meldrin, can you attach the wagon to the horse? Lazarus and I will bring the crates and load it up. The two nodded. Meldrin ran outside while Lazarus went with Misty into her alchemy lab. She put down her satchel as they grabbed small wooden crates full of potions and walked outside, stocking the wagon. Excellent, that's all of it. We can head to Pandemonium. Meldrin took the reins while Misty and Lazarus sat in the back of the wagon. Meldrin steered through the forest and and took the path to the west. So, Misty, what are we going? What are we going to do when we're done delivering the letter? Meldrin asked. Well, I was thinking we could head to Grimdall to deliver the potions, then maybe grab a bite to eat since I couldn't make dinner, and stay the night in the city. If you and Lazarus need to head back to the Isles of Korhal after we're done dropping off the goods and eating, then by all means you two can leave. Meldrin nodded. Sounds like a plan to me. I will see when we head to Grimdall. What are you giving them this time? Misty laughed. Well, you two are princes. I don't want your father to be worried about his sons if they aren't home by sundown. And King Bane needed both healing and mana potions. I'm not entirely sure why, though, but I am sure Vindros will inform me. How does a healing potion work? Asked Lazarus. That's easy, Laz. That's easy, Laz. You just down the potion like it's a nice cold glass of milk, Meldrin replied. Misty chuckled. Well, that's one way to do it. You see, Lazarus, the healing potion is made from a common plant known as the Argus plant. You can find it all around the world. That's how common it is. The plant has a special syrup inside of it. A dense syrup, I should add. So when you make the healing potion, the syrup is what heals you. The most common way to do it is what Meldrin said. Just drink it. But there is a more effective way. Really? What is that? Lazarus asked. You see, most healing potions are made with juices and other fruity and healthy liquids, along with the syrup. So, what you would want to do is drink the liquid in the potion until you hit the syrup. You'll realize when you hit it because the flavor will change and your lips will feel sticky. You take the syrup and rub it on your wound. The healing will take effect immediately, and you'll be ready to fight in half the time if you drink it, explained Misty. Wow, that's so cool, Lazarus shouted. Okay, Misty, then why do they make different size healing potions? Asked Meldrin. She smiled. Well, that should be a no-brainer. Bigger the wound, bigger the potion needs to be. But if you treat a great wound with a healing potion, you probably should see a healer as well. And even if you do it the way I said, you'll still feel better than if you were to drink it. The bigger the potion, the more watered down the fruity liquid is. So it's easier to drink if you wish to do so. Meldrin nodded. That's interesting. So how about mana potions? How do they work? Mana potions are made with two types of mana plants. You have the mana leaf and the mana berry. When you combine the mana leaf with a plant called chorus, the potion is made along with a few other liquids. For a mana potion to properly work to its full effect, you shake it. This activates the chorus plant that helps the mana flow through your body faster, so within 3 seconds your mana will be ready to use again. Wow, that's interesting. Where did you learn all of this? My alchemy books. Meldrin nodded. Okay, Misty, one last one. How does a strength potion work? I never used one, but I've heard much about it. She grinned. Good question. So the strength potion is made from a flower called the Strengthigal plant. This plant is very poisonous, but mixed with fresh honey and crushed blueberries, along with mana berry syrup, the plant becomes stable. The flower contains a power of pure strength. Some people believe that the god Azardin planted them, but the theory is speculation. These flowers hold a power that makes people stronger for only a short amount of time. So when you drink the potion, you can lift heavy objects, no matter how heavy. But the potion only lasts between 25 to 60 seconds, so plan your activity wisely. That's so cool, Lazarus shouted. That is impressive, stated Meldrin. He pulled the reins, halting the horse. Meldrin, what's the matter? Nothing. We're at Pandemonium. The three gazed at the gates of the Pandemonium. 2 guards dressed in royal blue armor stood at the gates. They bowed to Misty and Meldrin as they entered. The city was filled with citizens that scurried the streets. Some held bags of groceries, while others held shopping bags of clothes. Some stood chatting with others. Wow, Pandemonium is big, Lazarus said. This is one of the capital capitals of the Divine Confederation, Eldrin explained as he pulled over the wagon. Misty, you go ahead and talk to your mother. I'll take Lazarus to the tavern. I know you promised dinner at Grimdall, but I am starving. Misty smiled and nodded. She headed to the castle where the Grand Council dwelled. She followed the path north. The aroma of sweet baked goods filled the air. As she passed by houses, she saw the bakery shop cooling down pies. Her mouth watered for the sweet goods. Misty saw the castle in view and saw the guards standing at the door. She approached them and bowed. May I enter? I'm here to speak with my mom, Makora. The guards bowed and let her enter. She walked down the hall, gazing at the self-portraits hanging on the wall. One portrait was of a young man with a sword in his hand. He had dark brown hair and deep gray eyes. He had a scar underneath his right eye. It was King Bron Corridus. As she rounded the corner, she saw the double doors to the throne room opened ajar. She could hear talking inside and decided to listen in. This war between the orcs is becoming tiring, a male voice said. Don't worry, Bron. Once we have summoned him, our problems will be over. I have my mages searching for the one that is pure of heart. Then we can commence with the summoning. I hope you know what you're doing. Misty knocked on the door before entering. As she saw the two, Bron and her mother, Makora, sitting on the thrones, Misty bowed to them. I am deeply sorry to interrupt, but a letter has come to you, Mother, at the house. Misty, I wasn't expecting you here today, but you say I received a letter? Misty nodded and presented the letter to her mother. She took the letter and read it. How interesting. Thank you, my daughter. You can leave. Her tone harsh. Bron cleared his throat. Maybe your daughter would be perfect for the job we need someone to do. Misty raised a brow. What kind of a job? Makora stood and walked down from the throne. We need someone to investigate a ruin up north. My mages have been busy on the front lines dealing with the undead and the orcs. We have no soldiers to spare for the mission. Would you care to take up the task? Misty nodded. Of course. I do, though, need to deliver some potions to Grimdall, and I need to receive a shipment for my shop as well. I will be back in a few days, if that's okay. Yes, that's fine. Report your findings when you return. Misty bowed. Thank you. Misty walked out of the castle. She headed for the tavern where Meldrin and Lazarus were. As she came upon the tavern, she saw a man in a black robe shouting at people while he held gadgets in his hand. He had on a hat that covered his head except for his eyes. He looked in her direction. Girl, would you care to buy some trinkets? He shouted at her. What kind of trinkets do you have? Misty asked. He opened his robe and flashed all kinds of rings, trinkets, and necklaces. He pulled out a necklace and handed it to her. This necklace is able to boost your mana regeneration while fighting, so you won't feel drained much during battles, he explained. Misty nodded. Does it go along with mana potions? Am I able to use potions while having the necklace on? Yes, of course! The property of this necklace has a mana stone in it, and when you use magic, the stone will activate. Misty nodded. I see. Do you have anything else? He pulled out an orb that burned with fire inside. This beauty helps with fire magic. If you happen to be a fire mage, this orb is... Misty halted him. I'm not really an orb holder. I'm more into books. He fumbled through his coat trying to find something. His hands went in every pocket that he had. How about this? He whipped out a spell book with a design of fire on the front. A spell book? Misty questioned. He nodded. All the fire spells you need in this one book. Misty's eye widened. How much? 200 gold pieces. Misty slapped down a sack of coins in his hand. What? You're gonna give me a coin pouch full of gold? Isn't that what you wanted? Misty said. Well, yes, but no one really... Then take it. I can put that book to use along with the necklace. The man fell silent. He glanced at the book, then to the necklace in Misty's hand. What's your name? Misty, and yours? He paused for a moment. Misty. My name is Trinket Master Gorte, and I go from town to town selling my wares. She nodded. So do we have a deal? He agreed. She bowed to him. Thank you, Trinket Master. She walked into the tavern. Thank you for your business, Misty. Can it really be her? Misty searched the tavern for the table Meldorin sat at. She found the two with their bellies on the table and wiping their faces. Misty walked and sat down. Meldorin nodded at her. Misty, glad to see you. How did the meeting go with your mother? It went okay. She gave me a task that I find interesting, but I do want to investigate. So the goal is to go to the ruins tomorrow, then to Grimdall. Do you think you two can go, or do you need permission from your dad to stay? We are going to a ruin? Lazarus asked, jumping out of his seat. I will send our dad a message saying we won't be home for a few nights. But yes, we can go. Excellent. Like I said, we will be leaving tomorrow morning, so make yourself comfortable in the inn. Meldorin nodded. Okay, will do. Misty stood and headed to her alchemy shop. It was just past Main Street, close to the entrance of the city. It was a small shop that had the word "Potion Shop" across the top. The sign on the door said "Closed." Misty pulled out the key and unlocked the door. She kept it open and changed the closed sign to open, sticking it in the window. She grabbed a notebook and began checking inventory of what the next shipment she needed to be. She heard the sound of horses stop in front of her shop. Wow, already here? She walked outside to see a man stepping off a horse. He bowed to her. Misty, he said. Dylan, how are you? She replied. Doing well as always. She smiled. Good. I have your shipment, he said, along with an extra box. Misty's eyes widened. Do you mean you brought my... Shh! No one could know. I kinda stole them. Dylan, Misty shouted. Shh! You said you wanted some herbs, so I got you some. Dylan opened the caravan. Inside was the boxes for Misty's shop. The two began unloading the back, placing the boxes on the counter. We did send you some new potions as well, Dylan stated. Oh, which ones? He pulled out a sheet of paper from the back of his pocket. We sent you a new invisibility potion. It lets you not be seen for a minute, along with a few new exploding potions. It said it's made from the lava willows, but those flowers are rare, so I don't know for sure. I think the last one we sent you was a teleportation potion. It is said that if you drink the potion, it will teleport you to a random town. So what you want to do is break the vial on the ground to be teleported to the nearest town in your location. That one is said to be made with a plant that identifies the ground to teleport you. What are they called? The the telemanto flower, a deep shade of baby blue, and needle thin thorns. There you go, Misty explained. Yes, that. So, what kind of plants did you steal from me? He opened the box with the flowers in it. So you have some silver stem flowers and mana blooms, the Argus flowers, and also the aioli leaf. Dylan's voice trailed off. Misty looked at him. What's wrong? I was told to give this to you. He reached into the box and pulled out a flower. A red rose? What is this for? Misty questioned. He shook his head. No, it's a scarlet rose. A hooded man told me to give this to you. He said it is very important and that you must take it. Did the man tell you his name? Dylan closed his eyes. No, he didn't. He just came into my shop, told me to give this to the girl that I delivered to, and that it's sacred that you hold on to it. Misty grabbed hold of the rose. She nodded at him. Okay, I'll see if there's any secrets in this flower. Her eyes lit up. I almost forgot to tell you, Dylan. I finally found ghost moss. Misty's face sank to sadness. Which I forgot at my house. Ghost moss? Where did you find that? In the High Elf ruins, Calicor. Next time I see you, I want proof. I need to head out before the sun goes down. I promise next time, Dylan. Thank you, Misty replied. I'm excited to dig into these plants. Misty handed Dylan a sack of gold coins. I know it's more than I usually give you, but you've outdone yourself this time. So please, take some for yourself. Misty, thank you. She ripped out a page in her journal. This is what I'll need in a few days, and if you can, I'll take more flowers. He nodded. I'll do my best. See you in a few days. Dylan walked out and headed off. Misty passed the time cleaning the shop and putting her shipment away. As night fell, she closed shop and headed to the inn, taking the rose with her. She was greeted by a young lady in a blue dress. How can I help you today? Her voice sweet. I need a room for tonight, Misty replied, while giving the innkeeper 10 gold. Oh, my. Here's your key. Your room is on the top floor all the way down the hallway. Misty nodded and headed to her room. She unlocked the door and set down the book she had along with the necklace. She sat on the bed and grabbed the rose. She looked at it from all angles, but nothing stood out. It was just an ordinary flower. Misty had one thing she wanted to try. She grabbed hold of the stem. Thorns embedded themselves into her skin. A blue glow leaked from the stem and spiraled up to the petals where they fell flat as if a book smushed them. A blue ball of energy formed that spiraled down Misty's arm and up to her neck. A tickling sensation burned in her throat as the blue energy wrapped around her neck and traveled down her back. It felt as if an iron press was being crushed on her skin. Visions of the past filled her mind as if her life flashed before her eyes. The rose fell to her chest, and her eyes closed, falling fast asleep. And that is the end of Chapter 1. Thank you all for being so patient with me. This has taken me many tries to do. I hope you all enjoyed it. It's a lot tougher than I thought. I will say this, a lot tougher. I definitely I had to stop and do this many times, but I'm so glad it is finished. I hope you all enjoyed it. I know it was a very long chapter. Chapter 2 is not that long, and that will be coming out next week. As of now, I'm going to edit this real quick, kind of make some little bit of changes, and post it on the channel. So you will see this the same day as I recorded it. So thank you all so much for watching. I thank you all for stopping by. I really appreciate it. I hope this is something different. I hope you all enjoyed it. I know my reading isn't up to par, but I hope you got a feel of my writing, and I hope you all just really enjoy what's to come. With that being said, remember to be the best you can be. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you all in the next story time for Chapter 2. Bye!